I, 34 male, had a pretty normal, loving childhood for most of my early years. My mom, Linda, was an amazing woman, kind, loving, supportive. She was my rock. My dad, Mike, 59 male, and I were close too, but everything changed when my mom got sick. When I was 16, my mother was diagnosed with terminal cancer, and our lives turned upside down. It was one of the most difficult times of my life watching her slowly deteriorate. Through it all, though, she remained strong, even when the doctors told us she didn't have much time left. During this time, my mom's best friend, Carol, then 40 female, became a huge presence in our lives. Carol and my mom had been best friends since childhood. She was like an aunt to me, someone I trusted, and who had always been there for our family. When my mom got sick, Carol stepped up, offering support in ways that, at the time, I was grateful for. She would help with errands, come over for emotional support, and sometimes even stay with my mom when my dad needed a break from caregiving. What I didn't know was that while my mom was fighting for her life, my dad and Carol were having an affair. My mom passed away when I was 17. It was devastating, and I fell into a deep depression. My dad was distant afterward, which I chalked up to grief, but looking back, it was clear there was more going on. About 6 months after my mom passed, my dad sat me down and told me that Carol was pregnant with his child. I was shocked, disgusted, and heartbroken all at once. My dad admitted to having an affair with Carol while my mom was dying. He tried to justify it by saying that he and Carol had grown closer during my mom's illness and that he was emotionally vulnerable. I didn't care about his excuses. I couldn't believe that the two people who should have been supporting my mom during her hardest time were betraying her behind her back. Carol gave birth to a baby girl, Emma, now 16 female, and my dad moved in with her not long after. They never married, but they stayed together and raised Emma as a couple. For years, I kept my distance from both of them. I was too angry, too hurt by what they'd done. My dad tried to reach out over the years, but I never got over the betrayal. Carol, who I had once seen as family, was now someone I couldn't even look at without feeling sick. I focused on building my own life. I went to college, started a career in business, and eventually started my own small company. I've been fortunate enough to have some success, and I've worked hard to build a stable and happy life for myself. Over the years, my relationship with my dad has been strained. We'd see each other on occasion for holidays or family events, but I always kept him at an arm's length. As for Carol, I've avoided her entirely. She's tried to apologize a few times, but I never wanted to hear it. Emma, my half-sister, was always a bit of a gray area for me. She's innocent in all of this, but her very existence is a constant reminder of what my dad and Carol did. I've never had a real relationship with her, though she's reached out a few times over the years to try and connect. I've kept things cordial, but distant. It's hard to be close to someone who represents the worst time in my life, even though I know she had no control over the circumstances of her birth. A few weeks ago, my dad reached out to me, saying he wanted to talk. I wasn't thrilled, but I agreed to meet him for lunch. We hadn't seen each other in a while, and I figured it would be the usual awkward catch-up. Instead, he dropped a bomb on me. Emma is getting ready to enter the workforce. She's been struggling to find a part-time job, and my dad asked me if I could give her a job at my company to help her get started. He went on about how Emma has been working hard in school, how she's a good kid, and how this would be a great opportunity for her to gain some work experience. He said it would be a way for me to show that I love and appreciate my family. I was floored. I couldn't believe he was asking me for this. After everything that happened, the affair, the betrayal, the years of distance, he had the nerve to ask me to help their affair child. I told him straight up that I wasn't comfortable with that I wasn't going to pretend like everything was okay just to give Emma a leg up in life. I told him that while I didn't blame Emma for what happened, it wasn't my responsibility to make up for their mistakes. My dad got defensive, saying that I was being unfair, that Emma was innocent in all of this, and that by refusing to help her, I was punishing her for something she had no control over. He said that it was time for me to let go of the past and move forward as a family. He even threw in some guilt-tripping lines about how my mom would have wanted me to support my sister, which made me absolutely furious. The audacity to bring up my mom in this context felt like a slap in the face. I told my dad that I wasn't going to help, that he and Carol had destroyed our family, and that asking me to step in and act like nothing happened was insulting. We parted ways on bad terms. Since then, my dad has been sending me messages, trying to guilt-trip me into reconsidering. He said that I'm being heartless and cruel for refusing to help my sister, that I need to grow up and see the bigger picture. He's even gotten some of our extended family involved, and now I'm getting pressured from a few aunts and uncles to give Emma the job as a way to heal the family rift. I feel torn. Part of me knows Emma didn't ask to be born into this mess, and she's an innocent kid trying to make her way in the world. But at the same time, I can't ignore the fact that helping her feels like a betrayal of my mom's memory. I've worked so hard to distance myself from the toxic dynamic my dad and Carol created, and now they're trying to pull me back in. I feel like if I give in and help Emma, I'm letting my dad off the hook for what he did. So, Reddit, am I the a-hole for refusing to give my father's affair child a job at my company? OP's father asking OP to give Emma a job without acknowledging the deep betrayal he caused is incredibly insensitive. Emma may be innocent in all of this, but that doesn't erase the pain of what happened. It's not just about a job. It's about OP's father's failure to take responsibility for his actions and the impact on OP. It's unfair for him to guilt-trip OP, and bringing up OP's mother is beyond manipulative. OP has built a life for himself despite their betrayal, and he doesn't owe anyone, especially not OP's father or Carol, anything. And now let's hear the community's opinion. Not the a-hole. Your father's affair while your mom was dying is unforgivable, and it's completely understandable why you've distanced yourself. Asking you to give Emma a job isn't just about helping her. It's about your father wanting to gloss over the past and pretend like everything is fine. You're not punishing Emma by not offering her a job. You're protecting yourself from a painful situation. If your dad really cared about healing the family, he'd be apologizing for what he did, not pushing you to make a grand gesture to erase his mistakes. No a-hole when it comes to Emma, but you're definitely not the a-hole for refusing this job request. Emma is innocent, sure, but your father and Carol aren't. They betrayed you and your mother at a time when you were both most vulnerable. I think it's understandable that you feel like helping Emma would be a betrayal to your mom's memory, especially considering how your dad is manipulating the situation by pressuring you instead of addressing the deeper issues. You're within your rights to draw a line here, and your dad shouldn't expect you to fix what he broke. Dear husband and I have been together for 5 years, married for 1. He is obviously the older brother to my sister-in-law in this situation. Sister-in-law and I were really close. She and her husband even hosted us at their house after dear husband and I were in a bad accident a few years ago. I considered her my closest friend since that happened. She and her husband, married 3 years, are also trying to conceive, but are having troubles. I have been very sympathetic and wouldn't bring up anything about it, since it is a touchy subject for her. However, my dear husband and I don't want to wait to start a family with his age. And with us being newlyweds, sister-in-law even took the time to set me aside and tell me that even though she and brother-in-law are having trouble trying to start a family, don't be afraid to bring up having a family in front of me. I understand. Hearing that meant a lot to me, and it gave me some relief. I didn't start spouting off by any stretch, but 4 months later, I did let it slip one night over dinner and drinks with dear husband, her and brother-in-law that we were trying to start a family. At this point, sister-in-law puts her beer down to double-check. You're trying. I was caught off guard with that question, but told her that, yeah, we were. She was pretty quiet for the rest of the night, but it was a busy evening, so I didn't notice much until the next time we saw her at a family event. We used to hang out side by side and chat away whenever we could. Now, she was standing opposite side of the room, refusing to look at me. She had been like this since. Other family members are coming to dear husband and saying that she is upset that we are trying. Sister-in-law and brother-in-law have both angry texted dear husband and told him something along the lines that I am young and should wait. For them to have a baby first, I assume. I haven't pushed any conversations on her. I don't want her to resent me or her brother in this, but I am between a rock and a hard place. Are you pregnant yet? She doesn't have the sole right of struggling with her child wish. Just because a baby is the result, the conception is still a personal path. What are you supposed to wait for? Till your own eggs are shriveled up and you need extensive help? She's really petty and very assuming. I'm wishing you well, OP, but fertility is not a guarantee, and these days, a lot of couples need extra help, even when young and healthy looking. Leave her alone. If you do turn up pregnant, she's going to increase these childish moments, so it's not that bad that this quiet ghosting is happening. Unfortunately, she's likely only going to change her attitude if she successfully has a kid to hold over you. These cousins are already in competition, and they don't even exist yet. Update. All right, so husband and I are now 4.5 months pregnant. I didn't mention this in my original post because we hadn't told anyone that we were expecting yet. I thought if I could figure out how to handle the original crappy situation at hand, sister-in-law and brother-in-law being angry, not talking to us because we told them we were trying for a family, then maybe I could manage the next crappy step of having to tell them that we are actually expecting. Since we've told sister-in-law and brother-in-law that we were trying for a baby, those two had fun sending angry texts to my dear husband, who is sister-in-law's brother, in case that connection was missed, about how I am younger than her and should wait to start a family, etc. Dear husband told me that he had gotten some gnarly messages from those two, but didn't really want to tell me what was being said. I think he was trying to be a supportive husband to me, trying to keep me out of it and not get hurt by things they were saying, which I appreciated, even though my curiosity was killing me. I let him handle it and didn't say anything to her about things. This is important later on. When it finally got to the 3-month mark of our pregnancy, we were trying to come up with some ideas of telling family. I brainstormed an idea of writing a letter to sister-in-law, a letter that could tell her that her brother, dear husband, and I both love her very much and don't want to hurt her, but we can't pretend like our pregnancy isn't happening just to keep the family peace. I thought a letter might be a less confrontational way to tell her about our good news, which would likely be upsetting to her. Perhaps a letter would have kept her from feeling cornered by us in person. I don't know. Anyway, my dear husband gave me credit for the letter idea and not trying to catch her off guard, but he wouldn't have felt right not telling her in person. He ended up calling her and asked if he could come talk to her at her house. He was really trying to be sympathetic and understanding of her when he told her we were pregnant. He said she was polite about our news, but was crying when he left. That happened about a month ago. Since he broke the news to her, she has kept a far distance from both of us and not addressed anything to us. I figured if that was how she wanted to handle it, then fine. Of course, I don't agree with it. See previous post for why. If she didn't want anything to do with us, then I wouldn't bother with her. Fast forward to now. I get a group text message between sister-in-law, dear husband, and myself. Dear husband is out of town for the next 4 days on a business trip, so I'm watching this whole mess unfold in real time in my message inbox as I am typing this post. Sister-in-law text. I'm not mad at you guys. There were things that were hurtful from all of us. I'm sorry for the things that happened in the past. I hope we can all move on from this and get along. I will say I was emotional because the doctors had put me on birth control before trying meds and stuff again. Yes, I get that's no reason for everything that happened, but I thought you should know. Now, at this point, I am pregnant and hormonal, really hurt that she is wanting to just forgive and forget, pretend her behavior never happened or was justifiable by saying that we were all part of saying hurtful things. It sounds to me like she isn't admitting to doing anything wrong by herself, but that we all played a part in it type of thing, which I know isn't true. At this point, I haven't said anything in response to her message, but my curiosity is ducking peaked with what she was talking about. I called dear husband and asked him what was said in those text messages between them. I tell him that I haven't said a word to her since I told her we were trying. What is she talking about? If she wants to rope me into taking responsibility for some mistake I made to her or hurtful thing I said, then I want to know what she is accusing me of. Now, dear husband is on a business trip, so he texts me. Can't you just take it and be happy? She wants to talk to us again and hang out and stuff. She said she tried talking to you at cousin's birthday party, but you didn't talk back. She didn't try talking to me at cousin's birthday party, by the way. She wouldn't stand anywhere close to me. I am beyond frustrated with this. I love him dearly, but I feel like my husband is just trying to keep the peace with his sister and is just rolling over with her suggestion to forgive and forget, move on, which I feel is a slap in the face for what she did to us, me. Don't get me wrong. I can work on moving on, but am I wrong for wanting a sincere apology? Reddit. I need some serious perspective on this. Is it fair of me to want a genuine apology for her hurtful behavior? Or am I just being a hormonal mess and making it too complicated for someone to try and repair the relationship? How do I approach the hurt I'm feeling about all of this with my husband? I live in a house with my best friend Joy. Joy is 25 and has been sick a lot. I cover most of the costs, and Joy rents the only other room from me. She does try her hardest to make sure she helps around the house, but no one else in her family helps her out. So it has been pretty much her and me for the last few years. Joy and I are both from a similar background. Her family stopped talking to her over religion. Mine stopped talking to me because I refused to give my sister, 36 female, $100,000 for fertility treatments. I was also told I needed to pay off all my family's debts, just because. I refused. They turned me into a stranger. I have now lived my life pretty free of them. I go to a therapist because it ducking hurts to be abandoned like that. But they have always abandoned me when I was more work than they were willing to give, which was anything. My sister has told me when I die she is going to fight for my estate. So I have a will at 26 to make sure no one in my family gets the money. That is how serious this is. Last night, while I was out with Joy, I got a text saying someone was outside my house, just chilling. When I got home, my cousin was sitting on my back porch with her baby. She said she tried to find a spare key to go in, but couldn't find one. My neighbors know that I don't talk to my family. I am close with both couples and have babysat for them. We have weekly dinners together. So they were confused someone was sitting in my backyard with a baby. My cousin said her husband kicked her out and she has nowhere else to go. She was dropped off by someone, and when I told her to call them again, she refused. She said she was going to stay with me until she found a job. She said she would stay in the guest room, and I didn't even need to worry about the baby having its own room for a time. She assumed I would be okay with A, letting a baby move in when the reason I was disowned was my dislike of most kids under the age of 4. B, that I have extra room. C, that she would be here long enough that her son would need his own room, ever. I told her to go away, and she called someone to come get her, only after we had a huge argument. She was back this morning at 8 a.m., ringing the doorbell with more stuff for the baby. She told me she was moving in, and that is all there is to it. What the duck do I do? Basically, you can just treat her like she was someone you don't even know and call the police on her. And if she persists, you get a restraining order. Though I think you might hand her the numbers of a few shelters in the area first. And tell her you'll call the cops if she doesn't leave you alone. Call the cops. Once you let her in, she will not go out. And having a kid means kicking her out will be trouble. Call the cops, seriously. My parents have always wanted to have a son. It was pretty obvious, and I recall them even saying that if my middle sister was a boy, they would have just stopped there. They tried again, and boom, another girl. So they have 3 girls in total now. My siblings and I have a very large age gap, so straight off the bat, we're already not very close. My sisters have a 14 and 8-year age gap between them. I recall as an 8-year-old crying and telling my parents that I didn't think I wanted a sibling. They said, and I quote, "We don't care. It's our choice," to an 8-year-old. See, the thing is, I wouldn't care that much if they didn't only make sure we got the bare minimum of things. All of my sister's toys were things that were given to us by other people from a church they forced my sisters and myself to attend because they had free lunches on Sunday. I personally never was allowed to celebrate birthdays. Christmas presents were usually essentials, or nothing at all after I turned 13. All my clothes are secondhand. I've never not had anything on sale before. While I don't mind that, thrift shopping comes with a lot of benefits. I can't fathom them spending so much money just so they can have a son. Are my sisters and myself not good enough for them? To their credit, anything academic was taken care of, and we were given the top resources whenever possible, so I can't fault them for that. We're Asian if that paints a clearer picture. Another thing is, they're quite A. I was beat throughout my whole childhood, and it turned into verbal A after I turned 12, when she found out that I didn't react to being beat. I stopped crying and just stared at her after she dragged me across the room by the hair and breaking a coat hanger on me. It stopped completely after I had to go to school with red welts on my legs. Honestly, I would have preferred the hitting to the screaming. I was made to do all the household chores, while my unemployed mother sat her butt on the couch and watched television, or cared for my sisters, which I considered a rather grandiose term for iPad parenting. This woman destroyed me on the inside. I hate the fact that they're bringing another child into this. And even more than that, I hate the fact that I know 100% that this child, when it comes out as a boy, is going to be treated better than all of us combined. They haven't even started the fertility treatment yet, and their favoritism is so obvious. You need to get the hell away from there as soon as possible. Get a job, preferably right now. If you can't work till you're 18, get a job the split second you turn 18 and start saving up your paychecks. Work as many hours as you can. Hell, work 2 jobs if you have to. Save up some money and leave. Get yourself a roommate. Find a friend or someone to move in with you and pay half the rent if you can't afford it on your own. You need to just get the hell away from your toxic family while you still have some semblance of sanity and a soul. In the meantime, try to avoid them as much as possible. Don't talk to them, don't engage them, etc. Wow, this is toxic and difficult to deal with. While I would like to suggest that you make a report to Child Protection Services or something, it will be a disorienting affair and very serious. Your parents have the right to reproduce as they see fit. However, the way they've treated you and your sisters is clearly messed up, and they should be forced to deal with that in a healthy way before they bring another child into the world. Reporting them will unleash a whole new set of consequences, and once the ball's rolling, that's it. You'll have permanently altered your relationship with your parents. Not like it seems you've had a great one with them. My 25 female, boyfriend, 28 male, stepmom, 47 female, is a homewrecker. Cheated on my boyfriend's dad. I'll just call them mother-in-law and father-in-law. When boyfriend was 12, ruined their marriage, and another one around 1 month ago. She tried getting back into boyfriend's life, but he rejected her. Hard. Last Friday, she came knocking while we had dinner with father-in-law and lots of other relatives of us. Prob saw something in Instagram or Facebook. Father-in-law angrily demanded to know what she wanted, and she said she just wanted boyfriend to know he'll be a big brother. When I tell you my boyfriend was green in the face, please imagine an actual green face. I'll skip a few things, but yeah, she demanded to live with my boyfriend, as she has nowhere to go, and he, I quote, was loaded with money. He said no, and she threw a tantrum. Now, here's where it gets spicy. My coworker is a barkeeper in a pretty rundown pub, and I had told them all the juicy gossip on Saturday. Yesterday, he had a shift at the bar and called me saying there was a woman drowning herself in alcohol and talking about a fake pregnancy, trying to get her son's money, blah blah. He kind of put 1 + A together. Can't be anyone else on this tiny city. So I went there with boyfriend, and we caught her red-handed. She then threw another tantrum, breaking stuff, until police proceeded to arrest and take her at least to the station. She's 47 and says she's pregnant. Is she sure it's not from being crazy or menopause? Because she needs Jesus.